this is not what I expected. It's not what it wasn't even in the realm of my thinking that this was going to happen.
Do you still remember Fast and Loud, one of the most popular TV series that changed the narrative or perhaps restructured how you view reality shows? Have you ever wondered what happened to cast members who took a break and never returned to your screen? Join us as we reveal the mysteries surrounding Fast and Loud members that will leave you speechless. Christy Brimberry. Christy Brimberry was one of the earliest stars of Fast and Loud, known for managing the entire process and making sure everything ran under the right budget. Money mattered, of course, but even more than that, it was about growing the business while still maintaining viewers' trust on the show. And for a long time, she did just that. Christy could handle any conversation with ease. While the team was constantly distracted from work, Christy was responsible to get them back on track. With her sharp sense of timing, she made every step of the process a lot easier. But in 2016, everything changed. Christy had been diagnosed with thyroid cancer, so she was forced to leave the show. Not because she wanted to, but because she had to. Christy eventually started medication and underwent numerous surgeries. The progress was slow, but she kept battling through the process. Even now, when fans talk about the early days of Fast and Loud, Christy's name always comes up first. However, Christy's time on the show reflected that not everyone needs the spotlight to feel important. Some people work even harder behind the scenes, and they are the ones responsible for the show's true success. Tom Smith. Tom Smith was an interesting personality on the show. With his loud voice and humorous personality, Tom brought a unique energy to Fast and Loud. His ideas were big and sometimes even crazy. However, there were parts of Tom's life that weren't always easy, but he refused to showcase his struggles on camera. Instead, he brought joy to the people around him. Tom focused on making each build feel special through intricate designs and craftsmanship. However, at Gas Monkey Garage, things were completely different. With a fixed budget and new projects rolling in each day, Tom's motive didn't align with the rest of the members. This led to frequent disputes between the cast regarding creative control and attention to detail. But that wasn't the whole story. With Tom's behavior going out of control, Richard Rawlings was forced to make the difficult choice of removing him from the show entirely. Tom was deeply affected by the betrayal, but he always had a strength that never really faded away. On October 13, 2014, Tom started his own show named Misfit Garage, accompanied by a group of former Gas Monkey employees. They built cars from scratch and showcased the real struggle behind each build. Even though Tom had years of experience in car restorations, many people doubted his ability to lead a team. Some thought it was a sure failure, while others thought it was a gamble. But Tom continued his relentless effort and made Misfit Garage one of the most beloved restoration shows ever. It wasn't about chasing business deals or drama behind the scenes. Instead, they focused on providing real value to the viewers. But in 2020, everything changed. Tom suffered a serious stroke in the middle of the night. The stroke affected his speech and coordination and required emergency care followed by weeks of physical rehabilitation. It forced Tom to step away from Misfit Garage and eventually ended the show altogether. However, Tom's time on the show reflected that being a misfit doesn't mean you're wrong. Instead, it represents your true courage to walk away when things don't feel right. Still, not every cast member had the chance to pull away on their own terms. Some were forced to say goodbye far too soon. Sue Martin. Sue Martin entered Fast and Loud with years of experience and a deep love for the restoration business. With her custom shop, ASM Auto Upholstery, Sue turned every car into one-of-a-kind art. But Sue's story didn't start with fame. Instead, it started with pressure. Sue always wanted to build her own business, not just as a woman, but as a leader. Her attention to detail is what made her stand out from the rest. But over time, things began to change. While Richard tried to rush deadlines and speed up the restoration process, Sue preferred taking her own time and doing the job right. This led to frequent disputes between the two. She didn't just work hard, instead she stayed true to her decisions, and that's what made her truly special. But fans began to notice Sue's behavior. She didn't laugh much and often looked tense. After just 4 seasons, Sue quietly stepped away from the show and chose to follow her own path. Fans missed her. Many had followed her journey from the very beginning. Sue's resilience and focus showcased that behind every successful business lies a process of enduring pain and failures. But what about the man who's been at the center of the show from the very beginning? Richard Rawlings. Richard Rawlings was the face of Gas Monkey Garage, known for his fiery personality and a huge love for cars. Like any process in the shop, Richard's dream life started from scratch. He wasn't just talking about cars, he actually lived a life around them. From hunting down rare cars to reselling them for a better price, Richard made Fast and Loud a huge hit. But behind his incredible resilience was a heartbreaking childhood that very few people knew about. Richard was born on March 30th, 1969 in Fort Worth, Texas. When he was a kid, his dad used to take him to the nearby car shows, and that's where his interest in cars began. While other kids played sports or video games, Richard was in the garage, learning each step of the process. He bought his first car at 14 years old, and by high school, he was already fixing up cars and selling them for a better price. Richard's journey to TV was even more surprising. He initially worked as a police officer and even as a firefighter, which gave him a stable income, but that's not what he truly loved. So in 2002, he started a small restoration shop named Gas Monkey Garage. But within no time, the shop attracted a huge number of customers and grew into something bigger than he ever imagined. Richard invested every dollar he had into growing the Gas Monkey Garage. With the massive popularity, Discovery approached Rawlings with a TV show showcasing the process of buying and restoring cars. Richard agreed to the decision. In 2012, Fast and Loud premiered its first episode, and the show quickly became a fan favorite. Over time, Richard always wanted to make the show better, while still prioritizing the safety of his team members. But life doesn't always go as expected. On March 11, 2013, during a typical workday at the garage, there was a sudden short circuit that most people left unnoticed, but eventually it led to a massive explosion. Several crew members faced injuries during the incident, and even a '69 Camaro, which was under restoration, suffered huge damage. This led to financial loss and delay in restoration. They even lost new deals along the process. And that's when fellow rivals saw the opportunity. As Fast and Loud became a hit, many people found ways to challenge them. And one of the key members were their former employees from Misfit Garage. They started creating better builds and holding a large portion of deals away from Gas Monkey Garage. And in many ways, they proved to be a serious threat to their growth. But sometimes the biggest problem isn't external, it's within the garage. When Richard first started out, he needed a genuine builder to handle the entire restoration process. And Aaron Kaufman was the perfect choice, so together they teamed up to build some of the iconic cars the viewers had ever seen. But over time, things didn't go well. With frequent disputes over creative control, Aaron chose to leave the garage. This made it difficult for Richard to balance the entire process because Aaron wasn't just a builder, he was the real foundation behind the success of the show. Some fans took sides, while others stopped watching the show altogether. But Richard kept moving forward. He opened numerous restaurants and even launched Gas Monkey energy drinks. He used his own strategies to keep the business alive. But behind all of the success on screen, Richard was struggling with something else. His personal life. He went through multiple divorces, and interestingly, he divorced the same women twice. Maybe his wild on-screen presence reflected at home, and that made it really difficult to hold on to relationships. But in the end, Richard's life felt too complicated. Still, fans respect him, because no matter how hard things changed, Richard never stopped believing in himself. He showed that success isn't always clean. Sometimes it's about the failures we endure and the hard choices we make. But while Richard found a new rhythm to life, another Fast and Loud favorite had his own reasons for pulling back. Aaron Kaufman. Aaron Kaufman was the most beloved member of Fast and Loud. With his long beard and steady hands, he always brought a rare charm to the show. Whenever a car rolled out of Gas Monkey Garage looking better than before, you could instantly recognize it was Aaron who made it happen. He was the shop's lead builder, who made every dream car come to life with pure magic. While Richard handled the business and fame, Aaron stayed behind the scenes, working on each project with precision. He didn't talk much, but his work speaks for itself. Aaron always wanted control over the process. He was more likely to build unique cars than argue over profit margins. Viewers loved that about him. Back then, Gas Monkey Garage had fewer projects to deal with, so Aaron had time to focus on the quality of each build. However, over time, things began to change. The team had to meet tight deadlines with more restorations filling the garage each day. Aaron started to feel the pressure, and even his body started to wear down. For a man who prioritized quality over everything, this proved to be a burden he could never handle. So Aaron and Richard started drifting apart. However, Aaron made the difficult decision to walk away from the show during the height of its fame. Maybe after everything, Aaron found peace in living life on his own terms, away from the rush. So he started his own company named ArcLight Fabrication, focused on building Ford trucks, the kind of work he always wanted to do without any restrictions. But then came something no one expected. In 2019, Aaron faced something far more serious than any restoration project. While riding his car in Texas, he was involved in a devastating crash. The impact was severe. Aaron suffered serious chest and leg injuries, including multiple broken bones and internal damage. He was rushed to the hospital and underwent several surgeries. Recovery became his full-time focus. The man who once lit up every episode with hard work and creative builds now had to learn how to walk again without pain. His presence was a reminder that being the quiet one doesn't mean you're weak. Instead, it's a legacy of strength that still resonates in every car he ever built. Fast and Loud gave us cars to remember and an opportunity to learn what it really takes to transform an old rusted car into a modern-day classic. Behind every build, there were people either trying to hold it together or suffering throughout the process. Some chased big dreams, while others chose to find their own path. But in the end, it wasn't what they built. It's what they had to face along the way. And that's what truly mattered. So who's your favorite Fast and Loud member? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and click the next video on screen now for another interesting story.